Continue the conversation on securing the election. Dominic Isavi is here with me. He's Commissioner of Police and Staff Officer Operations at the National Police Service. Retired General Bashir Haji, Security and Governance Expert, is with me. And Franklin Mukwanja, Executive Director, CMD. Still talking about the issues of securing the election, but I see there's a bit of a deviation here talking about crime in the city. In fact, Isavi, let me bring you in on this. Let's talk about the city now. What are you doing to curb the rising crime? And based on your numbers, is it rising to begin with?
Might be to answer you, let me first tell you how the city is currently for the last 3 years. We are picking from the months of, because this year is not yet over, we pick from the months of January to July since 2019. In 2019, January to July, we recorded a total of 4,006 incidents of crime that were reported. But the following year, in 2020 last year, this went down to 3,304 incidents. That represented a difference of 1,302, or a difference of a decrease of 28%. This year, from what we reported was recorded in last year, there was a bit of increase, a slight increase from that 304 to 3,401. That is a difference of 2.9% or 97 incidents, which increased from the previous year. What you can attribute to last year's huge decrease in crime in Nairobi, you can majorly say that because of the curfew that was imposed early last year, and it took some time. It was in place for some time. And this year, the slight increase can be attributed to, since COVID came, since last year, so many people have lost their jobs. So many companies have retrenched. So many employers have closed shop, and they are out of business. So you can imagine the number of people who are without jobs now. They are out there in the streets, they're in Nairobi, they are not going anywhere, and they have to survive. We can attribute this slight increase to these factors which are prevailing. And another thing is that you also need to take in consideration that Nairobi is a big city with quite a huge population of over 4 million from the last census records. And as people like everybody to believe is that crime is not increasing as people would want everybody to believe. There's a slight increase. And one thing you need to understand in crime analysis, the increase of the number of incidents of a particular crime in a particular area does not necessarily denote a higher crime rate. Reason being, one of the reasons we might record higher crimes than the previous year might be due to awareness. Historically, if you look at the country, there are some incidents which were crimes before, but the community used to live with them. They were happening, but they never used to be reported to the police. So due to awareness, more people are coming forward and reporting this. Outside Nairobi, things like, let's say, for example, crimes, gender crimes against gender, like violence against women. Even most societies, in most communities feel that when somebody wakes up and disagrees with the wife and beats up the wife, it's not a crime, it's domestic. I've heard many people, even in this city, referring to fight between couples as Jews. That is not domestic issue. It's a crime. Because the law does not allow anybody to beat up anybody. So what we are doing to secure the city with all these people living here, some of them are jobless, others are not working, is we have changed tact. Because crime is dynamic. And we have changed strategies we are applying in the city to secure it. If you walk in the streets of Nairobi today, both day and night, you'll see quite a number of uniformed police officers patrolling the streets. We equally have a higher number of officers in plain clothes, patrolling and securing the city. And actually, we have deployed another kind of specially trained officers, undercover officers, both women and men, who are securing the street with strict instructions to react to any distress cause. And we also have unmarked vehicles patrolling the city, also uniformed colored vehicles, which are meant to deter people who are bent on committing crimes. And also, due to the population and also the cities growing, we have also put in place other strategies, like we have quick response teams situated in strategic locations of the city to respond to any eventuality in case of need. And also we are working with the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, also to make sure that the NMS clears the streets of street families who have been accused of contributing the higher rate of crime, like instances of mugging and all that. Mugging is actually robbery by itself. And also, you'll also agree with me that the government, for some time now, has been trying to improve the way we do business, the way we secure the city. We have the IC3, Integrated Command Center, which covers the city with the CCTV. I know they are not enough, but more are being installed. And these has really assisted us, because whatever the officer at the command center notice something which can amount to a crime, they immediately pass the information to response teams and they act on it. And also the CCTV has been assisting police in resolving some of the crimes which take place under the watch of the CCTV. And so that we can also ask the public to support us. We have toll-free numbers which members of public can call anonymously and pass reports of crime or information to the police. One of the numbers that we have, it is manned at the DCI headquarters, is 0800 72203. That one is, if you call even now, the DCI will respond. Other numbers that are in place, people can call toll-free, is 911, 112, and 999. This one is manned at the National Police Service Command Center at Jogo House. If you call from anywhere in the country, somebody will answer your call, and if they need clarification, they will call you back. And then they will pass that information to the relevant police station to act. Yes.
General, from your thesis of election security, how do we instill institutional accountability? Because here Kelvin on Twitter is saying that the rogue police officers is just another misleading narrative to help the institution avoid accountability. He says that this is a systemic issue. The police service is also rooted on corruption, impunity, and violence. How then do we instill institutional accountability? Because we've seen some police officers overstep the boundaries. We've also seen the same police officers be held accountable. But still, the perception is that nothing is being done.
That's quite a challenge, isn't it? Because I think also the criticism is a bit harsh, to be honest. To a certain extent, it's valid, but I think it's a bit harsh. Because that is there. Rogue elements are in every organization. So, but to address his concern, I think the way an institution should respond is, first of all, acknowledge that this has happened. That's the first step. And then second step is accept to investigate. And if the issue is mistrust in internal investigation, then do an external, bring external investigators to help. And show the independence of those investigators. And then address the issue and redress it also. Whoever has been wronged should be redressed. And this will happen. It will happen every day. And sometimes the police or any other organization any officer from any other organization, even in civil society, would think that they are acting within the law when they are actually not. They will think that they are acting within their own procedures when they are actually not. So it's also good to look at the experience and the exposure of the individual.
Yeah.
And not just to tarnish the name of a whole organization.
Okay.
I think our problem is that in Kenya we've not outgrown the people still believe that the police live in the past. And that has been difficult to remove from people's perceptions.
Yeah.
It's not easy even for the police to address that, I think, but it can be done. It can be done. And this is something that should start in primary schools,
Yeah.
in nursery schools, with infants. I remember in my day in nursery school, a policeman will always be available to help us cross the road. Okay, there were not many vehicles where I grew up, but they were there. They will come and explain to us how to do a zebra crossing.
Yeah.
They will explain to us the usefulness of the police. I mean, they try to be friendly.
Yeah.
Try to help us grow up as mature citizens. And somehow that has disappeared from the curriculum. I don't think policemen anymore visit schools anymore.
Yeah.
And if they do, then it's a very rare occurrence. And this has to come all the way up
Yeah.
to the adult,
Yeah.
so that we appreciate that the police are ours. They exist because we pay taxes.
Yeah.
If we were not paying taxes, we will not be having them there. And if we are not making laws, we will not be needing someone to enforce the law. And the police are civil.
Yeah.
They are not militarized. They are a civil organization,
Yeah.
a civil service organization. And they should appear to be so.
Yeah.
And the public should appreciate that.
Okay.
There's a lot of good, I think, that does not come out from the police service. I think they can improve in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mkwanja, from a governance perspective, institutional accountability, and it's not just the police service. I was speaking to the chairperson for IBC, Wafula Chebukati, and he said that in the last election, there were 11,000 polling stations that could not transmit results. And he asked me that it's not our job to ensure there's connectivity in the country. But then when the results don't show up, the people accuse IBC. It's the same thing with the police service.
I think, Trevor, generally as a country, we have to look at ourselves. Each one of us has to go in front of a mirror and look at straight in that mirror and see the problem that is this country. We have to personalize this. We have to question our work ethic. Because if you are in a position of responsibility, then it behooves you to be able to act accordingly in strict adherence to the laid down procedures and rules that govern your engagement. In strict terms to the police service, I think we have to, the way you can assess whether you're being productive or not is to look at your track record and your performance. And the police have let themselves down more than once. You can look at some of the most popular, murders, for instance. We in an election mode. Kenyans have not forgotten the death of Musando. To date, has the family been told what happened to their father? Has the police given us good explanations about that? And many others that have happened. And this is, Kenyans will judge the police service out of such, instances. Secondly is the personal role of an individual to enhance security. And I think we have reached some capitalist levels in this country that it's about me. Policies such as Nyumba Kumi that should generally help, in policing. The concepts that they come up with the community policing. To what extent do they take root? To what extent are we as residents in our various areas? You live in a gated community, even just listening to the chair of that gated community and say, let's organize ourselves in blocks so that we know each other. We do not want to. So you can barely know what is happening to your next door neighbor. You cannot be a reliable witness to the police officers. So these are issues that we have to look at from all perspectives. The third aspect to it is, the more we advance, even technologically, and human beings, the more crime becomes sophisticated.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to equip the police and train the police in line with those advancements.
Yeah.
And some of these things that we see, and I will refer to the case, I do not know how credible the facts were, that if you look at the incident that happened, I think somewhere in Kibiko, of where a Range Rover was found of a victim who died, and the security of how that scene of crime is secured, how that evidence is handled, you can see it is a gap possibly in training.
Yeah.
I'm speaking as a layman, I'm not a security expert, but listening to what goes on,
Yeah.
it is, you can see it's a training capacity gap that has to be plugged, and it's possibly also, you know, the equipping of the police officers. And then the idea of who a police officer is in the community must also change.
Yeah.
And I say this with a lot of respect to very diligent and professional officers. The way we recruit our officers, there is a perception in the public that the easiest way to be a police officer is to buy the job. All right? So that perception has to be dealt with. The other thing is that you will see that the family, the black sheep in the families, and even growing up, if you are very naughty, you will be told such things like, you know, this one will have to go to the police. That is where such people go. So we have to shift this, you know, mindset that we have,
yeah,
to look at a police service as where the bad people have to go, where you have to buy yourself in,
yeah,
you know, and see that they are servants that have to serve us, and we have to support them to serve us in a way that improves and guarantees our security. Yeah. If we do not do this collectively, then we'll continue sitting and pointing fingers at each other, yeah, when things go wrong, when actually the people that can help this, the police was not there. Yeah. They are relying on us, yeah, to be able to support them and give them information to reach to the bottom of this matter. But you are locked up in your own, you know, the generation that's called 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm. You know, one wife, 2 children, a 3-bedroom apartment, and a 4x4 car. And that is enough for this generation. Are we contributing to society?
On the one-wife part, it's arguable. But let's now that this has been brought up by Mkwanja, why do some high-profile murders take so long? I mean, we have Jacob Juma, we have Sando, we have Shai, smack in the middle of CBD. Mm-hmm. Where is the challenge?
Let me tell you something that you need to understand. It is not only in Kenya where such crimes, complicated crimes, take long. We have seen in other countries, even people being arrested after 30 years. And one of the things I can say is that a murder file, like the case you're mentioning about Mosando, Jacob Juma, they are still active case files. And officers are still on them, trying to analyze the information that they have so that they can see whether any of the information they have can point to a possible suspect. You know, sometimes it's not fair at all for the police to make arrests and charge people to please the public or please the family. It's even more unfair when those people who are arrested without adequate evidence are released by the courts. It's better that the officers take their time, follow up all the details until they connect the missing dots and arrest the right persons. You will agree with me that the manner in which these crimes are committed, they're not done in public. The case of Msando, people were asleep. And another problem we have, which might have contributed to the long period of time it has taken to unravel these cases, is most Kenyans are not willing to volunteer information. There might be a witness out there who knows the details. And because of the society that we live in, one, they might be scared of passing the information to the police. Two, might be their feeling is not their duty to volunteer that information. But I can assure you, with the time, we believe and trust the officers from the DCI who are still on those murder cases will one day unravel the mystery behind them and get the right culprits.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's bring up some of the feedback that's coming through. A lot of it is coming through. Let's bring up some of them on screen as we take remarks on this. Mwando Vickery says, political interference, especially by those who enjoy the trappings of state power and resources, is detrimental to the independence of the IEBC. Kenyans must exercise absolute tolerance and impartiality going into the next election. Okay, let's see what else he's saying. Jenga Wakungu says, the problem with us is the weak systems in the elections preparations. However much IEBC Kenya shows their preparedness, election cartels will have infiltrated it, despite also having a heavy presence of police. Chaos never ceases in our elections. Okay. Deshmo says, the politicians are the ones who are impoverishing Kenyans so that they can continue ruling us. Well, but as a society, we are growing. Who unto them? And for the police, they should stop brutality on Kenyans. After all, they are civilians. Engineer Lazaro says, the best method of securing an election doesn't require superior firepower. No. Let IEBC conduct free and fair, credible election, and people shall go on with their normal duties after election as usual. Security only for smooth transition. Mageto B4 says, to cut the long story short, as Mkubwa has clarified it above, we work for the government of the day. We execute orders from above. This is not a job anyway. It's a service. We got no opinions in our chain of command. That must be a police officer who sent that. Jacob Abere says, electoral security is important. Please ask panelists whether it's prudent that aspirants gives voters from interior to polling centers facilitation services, e.g. picking up people from there. Okay. Mkwanja, what do you make of this budget by IEBC? You know, they were given about 26.3 billion shillings. They want 40 billion shillings. Why are elections so expensive?
Because of the trust deficit. If you look at the bigger stake of that budget is to go to election technology. Why are we over-relying on technology that even the innovators themselves do not generally use it? Is because we do not trust ourselves. So we are putting a lot of trust in technology, which is quite expensive.
Yeah.
The other thing is the quality of the ballot paper that we want. We do not even want to print those ballot papers locally. Our ballot is basically the security features are equivalent to, almost equivalent to the currency. And all this really demands money. So the best way to look at it is, and also an addition that, you know, we need a huge workforce for that. Kenyans are quite entrepreneurial. The amount of general prices of car hire change when it's IEBC, you know, hiring those vehicles, and that is it. And corruption really contributes to this. So we need to work on the trust deficit. We need to find ways of how do we organize, because our election is one of the most expensive. If you do the 40 billion they are asking by about 25 million voters that we're expecting in 2022, possibly you're talking about 1,600 plus per voter. That compared to other practices is still extremely expensive. And if we address the trust deficit issues, if we address the culture of corruption and plunder, we will then be able to bring down the cost.
Yeah.
And of course, we must also look at the aspect that, you know, voting is a privilege. It's a duty that citizens should be proud of.
Yeah.
And we must look at that so that we can even be able to volunteer to offer service. I do not see the reason why political parties have to put up huge budgets for polling agents. You know, I do not see the reason why other than facilitation. It should be an onerous task for young people in this country to be able to show up, be able to be trained, act as, polling electoral officials in a process that they will be happy to be facilitated and contribute to democracy development. Because if we work with such approaches, then we'll be able to drive down these costs. But the major contributors, of course, the mistrust that we now are relying on technology to cure, and the levels of corruption involved in the procuring of the services to enable the election process.
Right. General, I'll keep you away from the political discourse because I promised that we will just be keeping it security
It's
matters.
okay, I can take it.
Very okay, you can delve in onto that as well in
No
terms
problem.
of IBC, what the preparation levels should be like right now, especially when it comes to these budgetary issues. We know they have a deficit of about 14 billion shillings. What would you expect from them right now as a citizen as well?
I would have expected a lesser budget,
Yeah.
to be honest, because they have digitized most of their functions, and that has not translated into a reduced budget, and they should be asked why. Why that is the case. Okay, in the last election we can excuse them because in the last two elections, 2013, 2017, they were investing heavily in acquisition of BVR kit and all that.
Yeah.
But we have the same kit in place. So are we acquiring new ones again? If it is replacements, then it should not amount to the same as 2013 and 2017.
Yeah.
And if you are going to rely more on technology, then it means you have to reduce the personnel on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's a saving. And IBC has not accounted for that. It should be questioned as to why the figures are going up. If you remember, there was a very heated debate between Honorable Raila Odinga and Chebukati on the cost of the referendum. And I think there is a valid argument that it should not be that expensive.
Yeah.
IBC should make it one of its priorities to reduce the cost of an electoral process to the taxpayer. It should come down. And it's one of the things that make people lose faith actually in IBC itself.
Yeah.
Because it is perceived that they are there to make money. True or false is another matter, but the perception is there.
Yeah.
It's there on the streets.
Okay.
And about the IBC itself, okay, we've interviewed about 4 commissioners now, but the previous 3 are there. And the same 3 commissioners were the ones that oversaw a botched up election.
Yeah.
So where is the trust? That puts a question mark. Will they deliver this time?
Yeah.
Who believes that they will deliver? Okay, and how will they influence the newcomers?
Yeah.
And even for the newcomers, they're being appointed so late in time. They only have 1 year literally, or even less, to catch up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they're able to do that, to learn the ropes and to deliver. But it can be done.
So
it's
at this
not
point,
easy.
then what would be the solution? Restructure the entire IBC, because even that we are out of time.
For me, I think that will be the best approach, but we don't have the time, unfortunately. So we will have to seek ways to build their capacity, to redirect them into performing better, and they should measure up to the oath of office that they take.
Mukwanja, what do you think? Because General is raising a very important question. The same team that oversaw an election that was nullified are still there. How then do you bridge the trust deficit that you're talking about?
You know, I dare say to the General that even if, including him, were appointed IBC chair, Kenyans would still have issues. And what we need to do is to respect our constitution. The law clearly says that the Chebukati and the 2 commissioners, the team that is there, were appointed for a specific period of time. There hasn't been a sufficient reason enough adduced, other than what the Supreme Court stated, to have them kicked out of the office. I think we need to give them the moral support. We need to all act in a way that gives them the confidence that they need to conduct their business in a transparent, accountable manner. we need to ask those with the responsibility to facilitate them. This team has not had the financing, for instance, to register voters, a very inalienable right in our constitution.
Yeah.
You are expecting this team to begin voter registration now, clean up the register, and have their act together, within that period of time. We basically setting ourselves up for failure and pointing fingers. We had the Curricular Commission look at the 2007 general election, which was a hallmark for our turning point to manage our elections.
Yeah.
To what extent have we demanded the implementation of this? I think it's not a problem of the specific officers and individuals serving at IEBC, but a Kenyan problem that we must be honest to ourselves, all of us,
yeah,
so that we can be able to pull up a properly organized election.
Okay.
Because whether we like it or not, we will all be Kenyans after the general elections.
Yeah.
So we kick out that team today and have new ones, they will face the same problem. It's the same forest that we just putting in new monkeys, and they will behave the same way if we do not find ways to address the underlying issues. And the underlying issues are, one, we need to address the trust deficit, which means all of us have to act in time and be able to respond to the law. The rule of law is at the core of enabling us to build trust in such processes. The other aspect is corruption. We have to really ask ourselves, what is making this election cost too much? And corruption is one of them, that the services that are being procured are exaggerated in terms of cost.
Yeah.
If we address those issues and iron out the structural deficiencies, for instance, one of the major challenges we had in 2017 is, what is the role of the CEO, the Secretary of the Commission, vis-a-vis the chair?
Yeah.
If we do not, again, address that going into 2022, and some of us who occupy those positions of leading secretariats and playing secretary role to, a board, we are clear in our mind that the relationship between the chair and the chief executive of an organization really determines how that organization works. And we need to work out these structural deficiencies, have a properly designated one center of power, and see how do the other senior executives and the relationship between the oversight and the implementers is harmonized.
Okay.
If we don't address these things, we're still going back to be laughing at ourselves and mourning for reasons that we knew well in advance.
Okay. Kisavi, there's a very direct question here from you. Rain Asamo on Twitter says, giving has not been criminalized. And when an officer is creating roadblocks in service delivery to make it difficult until one pays a bribe, then that's corruption. As we speak, traffic officers are around Rikana area collecting bribes. And Axel Job Morendi also says, yes, hapa karibu na Kasarani police station, karibu na gate, they are now collecting 100 shillings from every matatu. What is the plan of dealing with traffic corruption, especially in the national police?
This is a very challenging issue we have. And because there is also that perception that we must give the traffic officers bribes so that we can safely drive through. One thing that person has not answered, told us is, why are they bribing? There is this tendency and behavior of Kenyans to circumvent the law. If somebody is the wrong, people should be ready to face the judge, to face the court, and either plead guilty that they were on the wrong, they are fined, and they go, other than giving the police officer a bribe. It takes two to tango. There is a willing giver and there is a willing receiver. But I wish that person could also have gone ahead and given us the identity of the officers who are receiving the bribes.
Yeah.
Actually, as a service, we have been fighting these fights. As I told you before that the law does not give us a mandate to arrest and charge these people in court. But then internally, we have the National Police Service Act regulations, which also outlaws bribes, corruption. And we deal with these officers internally. Some of them are sacked, others are disciplined, and either removed from traffic or posted elsewhere. And you'll agree with me that if you go to the Anti-Corruption Commission today, the ESCC, you'll find the records they have. They have charged quite a number of officers before court for corruption. Some of them have been even sentenced, and their service sentences, they have been fined. So it's something that we are doing. And from time to time, I know the Inspector General has invited the ESCC to conduct crackdowns on errant police officers, and they are being arrested. So it's not that we support corruption; we don't support it. Okay. But I wish Kenyans can stop the habit of giving, and follow the law.
All right.
Yes.
Let's take closing remarks on this situation right now, and I'll start with you, Mkwanja, in terms of 363 days to the elections. What will be your rallying call to institutions and to the people? Because the election will involve all of us again.
To the institution, I think we need to reflect on the 2017 elections. I find the election were very operationally sound, and ask ourselves, where do we need to improve? One of the areas that we need to improve is to make sure, call on Parliament to stop this circus of pointing fingers. And we are aware, and we know it is on record, there are a number of legal reforms aimed at improving the conduct and management of elections that have been lying in Parliament for the last 2 years, 2019, 2020. We need these pieces of legislation to be fast-tracked so that we can have at least all legislations affecting elections to be done by December, so that we have sufficient time for implementation and enforcement of the same. And agree that possibly any pieces of legislation that happen within a period of 6 months to election date then do not apply to the forthcoming election and can only apply to the subsequent one. And we also need to make sure that IEBC is well resourced, because there is no important duty than making sure that we navigate the 2022 general election in a way that we don't destabilize our economy, we don't affect our social cohesion as a country, and we all have a peaceful coexistence. We need to look at the way we politically work, participate. Now this is to the people. The choices that we are going to make in 2022 will have the ramifications on us for 5 years. So we need to question the agenda. We need to interrogate the track record of those ones offering to lead us. We need to look at their, integrity, question their actions in their previous responsibilities, so that we end up with a team that will offer leadership in this country and not to deal for their own selfish interests. It is important that we participate and do so meaningfully. We cooperate with the election management bodies. Please, and we have COVID also, and it's at a different time that we're going to have elections. I suspect COVID is not going away anytime soon. We need to be in a frame of mind that we'll be asking ourselves, how do we strike the delicate balance between protecting public health and safeguarding our democratic and civic space? That challenge is a key duty for citizens to support the police, to offer moral support to the officers that will be serving at the various electoral management bodies, to ensure that we have a country after 2022 general elections. We will maintain the same neighbors. No one of us is going to be, Raila will have the same neighbors. Uhuru Kenyatta will have the same neighbors. William Ruto will have the same neighbors, and the others will have the same neighbors. We must be able to be our brother's keeper going into 2022 and safeguard our country and ensure that there is peace, cohesion, unity, and make sure that we don't have a slump in the economy out of our acts that may be able to endanger all of us. Thank you.
General?
Thank you, Trevor, and thank you for this engaging discussion. I appreciate all that my colleague has said. I think it makes a lot of sense, and all Kenyans are hoping for free, fair, and transparent elections. But 50% of the effort actually is with the electorate. Yeah. For them to conduct themselves peacefully, first of all, and secondly to challenge the candidates on issues that affect them, and that will affect them, and very topical issues. Yeah. Those charged with the responsibility to deliver, like the IEBC, we cannot underestimate the challenges under which they are working. First of all, I would like to put that point across. Yeah. But already we are looking at them with one eye closed. I mean, past history aside, I think this is a time to make amends for any shortcomings that we might have suffered earlier on. I think they are capable. Yeah. I think they'll be able to deliver. And I would like to say that election security is not the sphere of one entity. Yeah. It's a collective responsibility. It's a national responsibility. Yeah. It's for everybody to pull together. No organization can work as a lone ranger. Yeah. We have to complement each other's efforts. And that is the purpose of electoral security. Thank you.
All right, Gisavi, as you wind up, what are some of the transformation in the National Police Service that you think will go a long way in enhancing the relationship even with the people?
I think the National Police Service, as a police entity, we have come very far. Yeah. The journey has been long. And I can say some of the transformations that we have achieved, the greatest transformation we have achieved is, one, is a merger of the two services. That is the Kenya Police Service and the Administration Police Service. Yeah. And also the reorganization and restructuring of the command structure, which after a realignment, we eliminated wastage and overlap of functions. And also, currently we have a common training syllabus for all the police training colleges. And also, we are providing, the government has been providing live and medical cover to the officers, which is a plus for the National Police Service. And we have a directorate in the National Police Service, which is dealing with the mental health of officers. That is the creation of the directorate of chaplains and counseling. And the government has also boosted our ability to work by leasing vehicles. This has really improved our mobility and service delivery. And also we have the current ongoing digitization of the police records, which we hope after is finalized, the issue of missing files in the police will not be there anymore. Yeah. And the officers are being paid house allowances. So that that crowding in small police lines, houses, is not anymore. Has been eliminated. Okay. So as a service, we have come from very far, and we are still going very far.
Okay. What is your call to the people as we go into the elections? Your rallying call to the civilians?
One, I would like to appreciate my colleagues here. I think because from where they come from, there are people who listen to them. They have been talking very well with the police. And what I can call upon the public, Kenya is a great country. We as a National Police Service, we are willing and ready to partner with all Kenyans. Even that man in the streets, we are willing to partner with them to make this country more secure for everybody and make sure that we are more safer than before. And I know we can do it, and we have no reason not to do it. And we are going to make it in the next year's general elections.
All right. I have to leave it there for now, gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time. Dominic Isavi, Commissioner of Police in charge of Staff Officers Operations at the National Police Service. Retired General Bashir Haji, Security and Governance Expert, and Franklin Mkwanja, Executive Director, Center for Multi-Party Democracy. Thank you so much for all the feedback that's come through. We appreciate it every day. Now we take a quick break. When we come back, we're working out, right? Yes, with Willis Bazuraburu. See you in just a bit.